Reid. I want to talk about allyship because I remember as we were coming into the room, I saw someone come out, I can't remember who it was, he said, I'm a white man and I don't know what to do. And I think we need to talk about why allyship is important. And something that I heard recently on social media over the weekend, and I'm going slightly off script here, but it said, I heard someone say a comment about moving from being an ally to an accomplice, which I quite liked. And so I wanted to hear your perspective on that in terms of what allyship means to you, and specifically, what are the tangible kind of actions that an ally can take to support Black inclusion in business? Sandra, let's start with you, actually.
Uh, Allyship is that you're with me. Allyship is you're with me, that you understand my journey and you have some understanding about what my day to day is like. And I think what we have found is when you start to tell people about your day to day, they begin to understand that there is a difference. There actually is a difference how I live my life. So once you understand that, then you begin to understand how you might fit into this and how you might be able to stand up, speak up, defend, use your power, use your privilege in my presence and in presence of others who don't get it. So allyship is I almost sometimes want to say it's weaponizing you. Bring it, bring it. We want you to say what is right and righteous in the moment. We want you to show up so that you show that you care, because that is your power, that is your privilege. So you should use it.
Erica,
and
what about being the accomplice? I want to hear you say, what does that mean? It's almost like allyship 2.0. I want to know what that looks like because I quite like to be an accomplice, if I'm honest.
I love that. And actually, I always use the term, oh, this is my partner in crime, right?
Exactly.
And that's sort of old school, but it speaks to the sentiment. And, when I talk about allyship, the one thing I like to highlight is that it's not something that you get dubbed, you're dubbed an ally and then you don't have to do anything, right? It only is as good. It's sort of like Janet Jackson. What have you done for me lately? You have to earn that title every day. It's not like you did one good thing to stand up for a person and you're dubbed an ally forever. So it requires work. It requires action. And I think that it's something that you have to do well and on an ongoing basis. And in order to do that, you do have to view this as personal, right? Take on the struggle as your own. It's not just about those people. It's about all of us. We're all in this together and we stand up for racial equity, even when it's uncomfortable. Now that requires an education, and especially, to your point of the question, saying I'm a white man, well, make sure that you've educated yourself and don't expect other people to do that for you. There's enough information available. So make sure you educate yourself on, what is systemic racism? Where does it come from? And also, frankly, acknowledge that this conversation is not about you. And sometimes we do have to put other people first. And I think, you also have to acknowledge privilege and white privilege, and that you may have it. So you have the opportunity to transfer the benefits of your white privilege or your male privilege or whatever privilege whomever on this Zoom has. You can transfer the benefits of that privilege to help others. And, that sounds very simple, but a lot of people aren't willing to use their capital and put themselves at risk for others. Right. And, that's important to do.
Interestingly, that's a comment that's come in from Roshni Patel, who was effectively saying that where she believes that many people get comfortable in their privilege, but don't want to jeopardize their own seat.
Yeah.
Which is effectively what you're saying as well. How valuable do you think something like an allies program for the Black community would be, similar to like an allies program that you have for LGBT? Because actually, Erica, you're ex-Bank of America, and they have like one of the largest allies programs in the world, where they also gamified it using technology and point scoring system for behaviors or actions that you took. Would that be valuable from a Black community perspective?
Absolutely. And I mean, that's what we're doing at Goldman. So we have an Allies for Racial Equity guide. We have training, and we are rolling it out, globally at the firm. by division.
Because that's never happened before, I don't think. I don't think any company's ever set up an ally program specifically for race. I don't think. That's the
Not
first time.
that I'm familiar with, but I won't claim that, you know. Somebody will hop on and say
So
somebody
you have
else
an
has done it.
exclusive, everyone. Eric has created the first allies program for the Black
You know,
community.
I would love to have other examples, you know, truthfully. So anybody that does have other examples, we piloted this program actually before George Floyd, and we're really pleased with the outcome, got really positive feedback. So we had not anticipated to scale it firm-wide and globally, and we had to retool and again, think about, train the trainer, roll it out, so that we could really get the global reach that we wanted to get for it. And we've, you know, sorted all of that out, but it is the same curriculum that we use for the pilot. It is the same model. It's in partnership with our firm-wide Black network. And I'm really excited to see how it goes. My dream, I might've said this on the last one, is just to have allies for inclusion and have curriculum that enable people to go deep by strand. So that, you know, I mean, again, to acknowledge intersectionality, create educational platforms for the different strands of diversity, and have people that are just really culturally competent and can speak across the strands of diversity, and just move to focusing on inclusion for all.
Yeah, fantastic. I kind of want to move on to another question that we have here, and I'm sure you've seen it, but there are a plethora of CDO roles, like Chief Diversity Officer roles, being hired globally for different companies. Companies are starting to really invest into that seat. In your three very successful CDOs, what do we need? What kind of infrastructure and support do you need to make sure that the Chief Diversity Officer can be successful in their role? Wayman, can we start with you on that?
Yes. So I definitely think that just going back to and pulling back into the discussion around allyship, I think there has to be the acknowledgement that in order to really shift the change and drive momentum, you have to have the advocacy that is actually translates into action. Right. So I think a lot when we talked about allyship, and of course it started with the LGBT community, and we're talking now about racial equity, it was something that was a feel good, I'll do it, I'll speak out, I'll go and march, I'll go out. But then when it came to actually behavior change and actually what does that look like in terms of what the work that you're going to do, and how are you changing the composition of the candidates that you are looking for, right? You're recruiting for, the people that you take on or seek as mentors, the way that you identify opportunities with your business and looking at the different communities within the business and strategy. And so really shifting that accountability and more accountability, but also the mindset that it has to be integrated into the fabric of how you operate. I think right now we have hyper focus on the actions to make sure we have engagement, which is so very important, and that we hear the voice. But I think in doing so, there needs to be an awareness and a commitment to actually building it into the way that we run our business, from a talent acquisition, from a development of people, from the way that we look at our strategy, the business operations, and the work that we're doing, and having that accountability for all of our leaders, not just the top, but really seeing that, having them own that and understand the necessity of it, the benefits of it, and then the promotion of it long term. Because what we could be at a risk of having right now is that we're in a movement that feels good. You see the passion, you see the kind of the global response to it, but that will have an expiration date. And we don't want that to happen, right? That's the worst thing that can happen. And so that is where I think we see the shift, and also the work that I'm driving to making sure that it is not just a moment, but actually it is really now a movement that is integrated into how we operate, and that we're looking at all of the vehicles and ways that we are driving the progress and actually shaping the aspirations and accountability through our leaders and our colleagues in our organization.
Great, thank you, Rayma. I just wanted to also point out on the next topic, what we're seeing is that there is genuinely a war for diverse talent, particularly racially diverse talent, particularly Black talent, given the BLM protests and every company wanting to hire more diversity. In this current climate or the new normal, how should candidates and companies be navigating that war for diverse talent? Sandra, did you want to kick off?
So just to move backwards just a little, if I were a CDO candidate
Yeah,
going into an organization, the questions that I would ask today are certainly not what I asked previously. And I would say to candidates who are searching and trying to be due diligent in their candidacy, I would say to them, they need to examine the company. Because just because they have a CDO does not mean that they have success. It is unfortunate that there are some who are not doing or not being able to commit to their job and what they want to get done. So it is to ask what the leadership is doing, to look at your board membership, to look at the leadership management team, and to understand, are they sincerely interested in your success? For a candidate, the question would be, how will you make me successful? What are you doing in your organization that will make me successful? And how does that begin? Is there a beginning, middle, and end to it? Have you mapped this out in a way that, yes, when I come, the onboarding is very important. How I am seen in the organization. A lot of times people go into an organization, no one has announced them arriving. This person shows up, and so what? So if the person's not set up for success, it doesn't matter.
yeah.
So what? We need to make sure that we're asking the right questions as candidates of color going in.
Yeah.
The negotiations should also be done going in. Yeah, there are lots of things.
It's that having that mandate and that influence ultimately is what you need, but also the resources to actually be able to deliver what you need to do. The worst is when they have this CDO person sat there in the structure, but then there's no one supporting them underneath. And it's through facilitation or matrix management, and you have to work with the bit. And I'm like, but they need the mandate to actually deliver the job. So we've had some very interesting conversations with
and if I may add, and the true commitment, right? Because some organizations, by the sheer size and the fact that they have a footprint, a multinational footprint, see it as a necessary role to have. But you want to make sure that, I agree completely with Sandra, that you do the litmus test to ensure that that commitment is really resonates and it can be felt. And also they have the infrastructure to support the success and really driving the necessary activities and work that needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to the question about war for diverse talent, how should companies and candidates be navigating this new climate? Erica, I'm going to come to you on that.
Yeah, I think a few things. You want to make sure that it's, you have steak and it's not all sizzle, right? Especially from my perspective as a diversity leader. Everybody is chasing this talent right now. Yeah. Every firm isn't the best opportunity for individuals, and the cultures have not all shifted, right? Hopefully we're all on the journey. Hopefully people see the vision and buy into the vision, and but it has to be the right opportunity. We can't just, a lot of people say, oh, we'll just figure out a role for them. Top talent and people who deserve to have meaningful careers shouldn't just be, stuck in a role to get in the company necessarily. I know it sounds great, but if you're going to create a role, it needs to be a real role, right? So yeah, firms like ours create roles all the time, right? But they need to be real roles with real portfolio and real opportunity to achieve success. And so it's not just about chasing the talent. It's about creating the opportunity for people to be successful. And you have the culture match, what you're selling in terms of trying to attract top diverse talent to your organization. You know, most organizations, when I've come in, before I've actively started recruiting, I've really taken assessment of the culture and tried to start that journey that people can, you know, get on board and be part of the journey, but the train is actually starting to move, right? So that you have faith, you can look yourself in the mirror every morning and every night when you brush your teeth and know that what you're selling, you know, it may not be a perfect product, but it's one that's improving, and that you have the ability to influence, and that you have that senior leadership commitment, and you know it and you understand it, and you have the necessary resources to drive it. You know, all the things that Sandra and William were saying about even being the chief diversity officer of a firm. But then how we create opportunities for people that are real, that don't put them in the positions to be the black hire in the black hire job, you know, that people feel like they are participating in the meritocracy in a way that is meaningful and not forced and not, you know, stereotyped in any way. That's very important for the long-term success of the individuals that we're bringing in. And we should be committed to their success if we're really committed to racial equity. Otherwise, it'll just be the same churn. The last thing I'll say is that also we have to value people accordingly. So whether or not you're bringing in a new chief diversity officer or black or diverse talent to your firms, you know, it's really important that you're valuing people accordingly and for the seat that they're in, you know, and also frankly being market competitive. The market has just gone up.
Yeah.
So that's the good news. And people know that, and they should know that. And unfortunately, the market going up doesn't mean that it's off market. It means that maybe now it's fair, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you think it's the equity pay gap, it's probably hopefully started to close it, you would hope.
Well, yeah, that's right. So keep that in mind.
So we talked about recruiting.
And if I can add, Suki, I would like to add to that. I think also in really preparing to be competitive, to really attract and retain Black talent, and to ensure that companies have an opportunity, they need to do an internal diagnostic, identifying what are the barriers and obstacles that have prohibited them from actually having the retention or the attraction thus far. You can't just start by saying going to do this great thing and going out and have all the efforts to really attract Black talent globally without understanding, well, why haven't they been attracted to us thus far? What was it around our image, our branding, or what had the feedback that has coming from just our reputation and image has happened that has not happened already? I think in absence of doing that, you really run the risk, similar to what Erica said, it's bringing people in and having a leaky bucket. Because I can tell you right now is that they, you know, Black consultants and job seekers understand that they have opportunities. And so we'll be very well coming into these organizations, even as a new hire, we'll be looking at, is this a place I can stay and grow? And if not, we'll already be working on, you know, what their career plan will be, perhaps externally. So I definitely say that there needs to be an internal diagnostic, looking at data, people survey, experiences across your demographic communities to see if there is any ahas that can be addressed beforehand and really be worked upon so that you create a welcoming, engaging, collaborative environment for them to thrive. Because if the goal is not to bring Black talent in to thrive, we should not be bringing them in at all, as with any other colleagues.
And actually, that's a great segue to the next question, just around, obviously you've now hired the Black talent. How do you then nurture and retain Black talent? Like, are there specific considerations that we should be making for Black talent in the organization to ensure that they are developing and they're thriving? Sandra, I don't know if you want to take that first.
So I saw someone in the chat talk about the fact that what is it that we have to be doing for Black talent versus other talent. And I think people need to understand that as Black talent is brought into an organization, they are by numbers less, and therefore are not in every level of the organization or not even in every department. So when they're brought in and they're one maybe of onlys, that does have an effect on their performance, and that we need to make sure that we're going to help them perform at their peak. And to do that, there has to be, and this is me, there has to be some sort of courting. It's like dating. You have to court. There's the middle where we're feeling okay, maybe we're going somewhere here, but you need to have mentors within the organization. We need to have people who are looking out for them. Sometimes they're called ambassadors, buddies, or you call them whatever you'd like, but they need to know who's going to help them be successful. And you have to also have a track record of those who are at senior levels of color who have been successful. How we should match them up so that they have conversations. There is a need to support their success, absolutely, because this is years and years of churn and burn. And quite frankly, people are tired of just lip service. You need to be active about how you engage Black employees when they come in.
Erica, anything to add about retaining and nurturing Black talent?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry, I'm trying to multitask, y'all. I'm trying to answer the chat. I'm trying to and I'm a terrible typer. I don't know if you can see the two fingers. But I am trying to answer questions too. Now, listen, here's the difference. A few things. There's familiarity and there's competency. So the exposure gap, the familiarity gap versus those who have talked about it at dinner tables and know the lingo and a few acronyms that their friend told you, that has nothing to do with competency. So how we close the familiarity gap is an opportunity. And that is going to be more likely to be across dimensions of difference, not just Black, socioeconomic and otherwise, but across dimensions of difference. So the learning curve may be a little steeper or appear steeper because they can't fake it till they make it in the same manner by having the lingo and the talk and reiterating something that they heard from somebody that works on, Wall Street in my case. So that's number one in terms of opportunities to engage diverse talent and Black talent differently from the start. The other thing that I would say is that many organizations are apprenticeship cultures, but that is not applied equally. Everybody doesn't enjoy the benefits of apprenticeship. So if you say you're an apprenticeship, then everybody needs the same opportunity to be an apprentice. So every junior person that's successful has the benefit of coaching, if not mentorship, and somebody showing them how to do the job. Most jobs, you don't just know from your academic preparation. So what we have done is create a Black and Hispanic Latino analyst initiative so that our junior diverse talent has the benefit of the coaching that everybody should receive as an entry-level individual at our firm. So that coaching, that early engagement, and how people ramp up in the organization is really important. So that's just one example of, it's not about giving people a leg up. Some folks already have that leg up, right? And it's not about people that are not capable of getting up the learning curve quickly, but what the steepness of that curve is, it could vary. But most people come into junior and entry-level positions without having actually done the job. So everybody has a learning curve. And we're talking about a difference of a matter of weeks, right? In terms of getting everybody to that same place where then performers perform. So, and then it truly is meritocracy. But if you're starting meritocracy for those who are familiar versus those who are not, and there's nothing to close that gap, then you're always going to have this perception that there's something different.
Absolutely. We only have like 2 minutes left, and again, we had a million things to talk about. So Cynthia Fortledge, I saw in the chat, said she's already ready and excited for part 3 of this conversation. I thought maybe we should do it after your election. Let's see what happens and the reactions to that. Let's see, that could be quite an interesting conversation. But actually, for the last question for the three of you, because I really like this question that came in from the chat, from Andrea Higgs. because you're all probably like busier than you've ever been, given what's happening right now. What are you doing to maintain your wellness? How are you managing your CDO stress? Like, who do you talk to when diversity naysayers and the ultra fragile, ultra privileged require 110% of your energy? So, what have you been doing to keep your own well-being and your own stress levels? We'd love to hear each of you say something as we close out. So, Wayman, let's start with you.
Yeah, I saw that question and I thought that that was such a poignant question as I'm sitting here wanting to take a big sigh because of the many intense conversations that quite frankly, take a lot of energy because sometimes people don't want to engage in that discomfort, but know it's necessary. But I think, kind of keeping your energy level up. And for me, I love the outdoors. I love, going into nature and obviously spending time with my daughter. So we combine that and with the diligence of social distancing. Been doing a lot of hiking and just a lot of discovery, into nature, hiking, bicycling, because you do have to maintain a centeredness and a groundedness so that you get the wherewithal to really come and continue to drive this and also keep ourselves motivated, because at the same time that this is going on, I'm also hurting myself. So I have to heal. Like you're trying to, it's like put your mask on first and then help someone else. I have to heal myself. So doing that time, reflection and healing and really kind of coming to some self-care point of time. But that's what I have done and try to continue to do.
And Sandra, what about you? Self-care for a CDO?
Well, as I said, this is my first day back from 5 days off, so
No wonder you're like glowing.
I believe in refueling. You have to refuel because you're talking and you're giving of yourself all the time. Because I just don't take this job as a job. This is a passion of mine for the people in which I have not been served well. So I've done something during this whole pandemic that I had never done before. I am painting by numbers. I am doing paint by number.
As in actually, you mean actually painting?
Yeah, painting.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah. They have paint by number for adults. And that's what I found it online. And I was like, that would be fun. And I've done 3 so far. So it's one of those things to just quiet me down, let me think, let me reflect. And of course I read. So those are the things that just got to be quiet. Got to be quiet. Just so you can think. Yeah.
Fantastic. And Erica, what about you? What are you doing to look after yourself during these very busy, tough times?
Yeah, it really hasn't been easy, to tell you the truth. And I concede that I have not done a good job. And the irony is, I think because of COVID, a lot of us did not take our, spring break vacations. I know I didn't. Mm-hmm. And the day that I took off was the day that George Floyd and Christian Cooper hit the news, right? That long Memorial Day weekend, the day right after that. Yeah. So I am really, really tired. I do exercise because I don't want to die, honestly, but I am going on vacation next week. Yay. And yeah, I mean, honestly, hopefully it hasn't come through in this discussion, but you can start to hear that I am somebody that needs a vacation.
Yeah,
and I'm being very honest, because we do have to care about ourselves. And, and I want people to know that people actually should not get to this point. Yeah. I feel really encouraged because I just want to drive as much as I can forward, and I want to support my team. And, we're all carrying more than our lion's share, we're all sort of carrying and shouldering heavy burdens. And I do feel like if not now, then when, right? But we do have to make sure that we make time and take the time. And I am definitely going to do that starting next week on Tuesday.
I think take the time off, and then the fight continues when you're back in the office. You need to take some time off. We're over. So I'm just going to say a huge thank you to the 3 of you for speaking so brilliantly again today. I'm going to clap for you. I'm sure everyone's clapping at home too.
Thank
Honestly, there were so many takeaways. The thing around the accountability and transparency in the goals, I think, are critical to drive the agenda. I do love the idea of allies to accomplices to partners in crime on this agenda. I think is really important too. And that familiarity gap that you spoke about, Erica, I thought that is, in terms of seeing the progress of Black talent, that is critical to make sure that they can climb the ladder. So, I mean, again, we'll get all the notes together. We'll be sending it out to everyone. This has been recorded. It will be on our Involved channel. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully see you for part 3, if I can convince the 3 of them. So leave that with me.
Oh boy, Suki is like one of the most convincing people I know.
Nice to see you all. All right.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.